What screams I make dreadful financial decisions. I'm the more financially responsible person of my friend group, and the constant is impulse buying and not knowing how credit cards work. I have a lot of friends who fell prey for credit cards when they were young and banks offered them blindly. A lot of people lose track of their budget. Also, a lot of people realize too late that credit should only be used for big, necessary things: a car, a fridge, furniture, an emergency trip. Anything that's not necessary at the moment can be purchased after saving money for it. If the person is happy with their decision, I do not judge. I hate people who complain about individuals spending money on Starbucks coffee or anything else for that matter. It may be that person's treat to themselves that keeps them motivated and happy to get out of bed. Sure, some things may be irresponsible, but I've also seen individuals die with no happiness in their life. So who knows what's actually a financial bad decision if you can't know the full picture. At the start of my career, I worked in project management for a company that specializes in luxury builds: yacht, private jet renovations, cabins, mansions, etc. From what I understand of the cost to own and operate private jets and yachts, even if you can afford them, they are terrible financial decisions. They are bottomless pits that people continuously throw money into while they own them. Having credit card debt on multiple accounts, cards. Buying a new and expensive car, only to find out you still don't have a place of your own. Not having a retirement account in your 40s. Having a horrible credit score. Probably spending a lot on self-care but only saving $20 a month. Eating out for lunch and dinner every day. Taking out a personal loan to buy goods. Working a minimum wage job, while raising 2 kids on welfare, because you are certain that when the shop owner retires, he's going to give you the business. Shocked Pikachu face when the owner instead sells the business to someone else. Bonus points because your licensed electrician who could have been working a fairly lucrative job instead. A coworker has Starbucks nearly every morning. Large, complicated drinks, not black coffee or anything. Often accompanied by a food item purchase as well. Yesterday, she casually mentioned that when her food stamps get in, she'll try XYZ snack we were talking about. Ma'am, you easily spend $50 a week at Starbucks. May I introduce you to myself? 9 cars in 2 years, upwards of 10K spent on them. Should have kept my first car and saved my money up to get a decent car on finance or to buy outright. But instead, young me with a new license thought my Toyota's rubbish. I want a sports car, and that's where my financial nightmare begins. I refinance auto loans for my job. First thing that popped in my head when I read this question was one customer with a Dodge Challenger who bagged groceries for a living at like $12 an hour. Needless to say, he was not approved because of the payment to income ratio. Don't buy a car you can afford. Taking a loan to pay for a relatively expensive car. Having credit card debt. Not having an emergency fund. Not saving for retirement. Having expensive hobbies and having a low-paying job. Taking student loans for a useless degree. Having kids before you are financially ready to do so. My family live for today because you never know if you're going to die tomorrow. My GF after racking up thousands in debt, getting our only car repossessed and nearly getting us evicted homeless with 2 kids. That was 10 years ago, and I'll never trust her with paying bills again. This guy I literally just met at the bar of the hotel I'm staying at. I needed to kill an hour and he legit kept buying any women a drink trying to talk to them. They all took it but everyone left after like 5 minutes. It was one of the most difficult things I watched in real time. Spending your EBT on fast food while your kids are at school and then simultaneously not buying groceries with it. When they point out there is no food in the house, you just say they ate it all. They ate it too quickly and you can afford to keep replacing all the food they eat. When someone has to physically separate themselves from their credit cards. I briefly dated a girl who actually froze her cards in a block of ice, and, while I never got close enough to discuss finances, I can't help but wonder what that credit card debt looked like. I once had someone brag to me that they paid to consolidate all of their debts and it was worth a huge interest payment to do so. My boyfriend just dropped this sentence to me last night when I was researching retirement guides, 401k, long-term stocks, index funds, etc. X200B. Why are you reading into that? You're not even 30 yet, you shouldn't be worrying about retirement. Luxury vehicle parked on the street because you don't have access to your own parking spot. I know a lot of family members who would rather drop thousands on cars and jewelry than get out of their current living situation. It screams irresponsible. I feel like the most recent cryptocurrency bubble and crash was the perfect opportunity to identify the poor decision makers in our society. Pretty much everyone I know who makes terrible financial decisions had their money in crypto at some point. Dodge Chargers. Lifted trucks. Jeep Wranglers not at a high hell for school pickups and mall parking lots. Any vehicle with aftermarket big rims. Any vehicle with an aftermarket exhaust. Basically dumping money into depreciating assets. Spending half of your paycheck on Magic Yu-Gi-Oh cards when you still have bills that need to be paid. Not a good decision at all, but those cards were just the right ones I needed to finish making my deck. Asking friends for money to help pay your major bills like a car note with the promise to pay them back on payday and then proceed to be seen going out to eat and shopping after payday, rinse and repeat. Poor motherfuckers having to have a nice car. People you know who don't make much money and live in a shithole, but have a huge car payment. College is dumb, okay, but you owe $30,000 on that car, dummy. Constantly maxing out credit cards to travel and go to concerts. I just wanna shake them and tell them that I know it sucks to not be able to do the things you want, but you gotta be realistic. Constantly complaining about being broke but getting your lashes, nails, toes, laser wax every few weeks, going to clubs every weekend, and buying yourself a little treat almost every day. Well, I know a pastor of a tiny church who goes on lavish expensive vacations 2 or 3 times a year or more. I'd hate to see his credit rating, must have everything maxed out to the hilt. Convincing your ex-husband to go halfsies on your daughter's wedding cake. Also convincing your sister to go halfsies on your daughter's wedding cake. Telling neither about the other. I had a roommate that was bragging about buying a new car. Man got a Ford Focus with Apple Pay at a 15 interest rate. I didn't even know car payment loan rates went that high. I have worked with many people who eat out for lunch every day, drink in fancy bars a couple times a week, and travel many weekends, then complain they never have any money. My roommate won several grand at a slot machine. The next day he bought this massive TV. The next weekend he asked me to borrow money so he could buy food for his dog, NFTs, just in general. I'm not saying the tech can never be used for anything good, but as somebody that understands the tech, it's basically just being used for scams now. My constantly owning a new car. I've lost probably $200,000 in the past 17 years on buying and selling brand new cars. I'm screaming. I know this and do it anyways. A guy in my small town got $25K for an undisclosed reason, I'm guessing a family death or something, and he bet it all on the Yankees winning one game. They lost. Your coworkers that you know make the exact same amount that are vastly outspending you, because you have a managed budget and they live paycheck to paycheck. You walk into a room and have several large glass cabinets full of Warhammer 40K figures, and 10 of them are, so my friends tell me, big ass trucks. Almost no one needs them, nor can they afford them. Exceptions are for people that actually haul stuff and need the ability to tow. Burning friends by asking for emergency money, based on some fake story, that you will never repay. Yes, oddly specific. Yes, all too common. Tattoos. Smoking a pack of cigarettes, a day. Paying for getting parking tickets and never dealing with them. His name is Sal, my neighbor. Wasting your money on a game you already paid for on skins, in-game currency or other nonsense. A game that you will most likely quit in a year. Living with your parents to save money but then buying yourself a luxury car. Going to every vacations possible and buying designer clothing. Lots of expensive luxury purchases on credit. Finance the expensive sports car. Finance multiple homes, run credit card bills and pay minimums. Ordering Uber Eats or DoorDash instead of picking up the food yourself. Unless you're loaded rich, it's always a poor financial decision. Private number plate. I know they're not even that expensive, but I always think that they must be shit with money and probably in debt. Asking your friends on FB for $250 to pay your bills, then post pics the next day of you at the movie theater with $40 of snacks. They always have weed, smokes, and beer, but they never pay their rent on time. Many of my roommates when I was in my 20s, complaining about not being able to save for retirement while buying a fully priced Dyson vacuum. Because what the fuck? Dude, the DoorDashers in Boston that are picking up Chipotle orders in brand new BMWs, Audis, and Teslas. Absolute fucking clowns. The vehicle someone drives usually tells much of the story. Especially if it's a co-worker and you know how much they make. Guy bought a new 20K snowmobile. Next week he was calling around trying to sell random stuff to his friends for like $100. An apartment full of rent-to-own, or even worse, a rent-to-own trailer sitting on a lot that has to be rented forever. Luxury apartments. Unless you're in a job where you move a lot, there's absolutely no need to pay for a fancy apartment. I'm starting to think divorce. Just running the number theoretically, and it doesn't make any financial sense whatsoever. When you ask them how much they paid for something and they only know how much it costs them on monthly payments, scratch your tickets. They never stop crowing about the one time they won $250. But they've wasted $1,000 since then, using third-party apps for anything: hotels, cars, groceries, Instacart, food delivery, DoorDash, Grubhub, etc. Friend told me they're broke, and then they show off their new Apple products on X stories a couple weeks later, getting drunk and buying a big Mark Zuckerberg poster. Yes, it was me, and I think I still have it somewhere. Consistently ordering through DoorDash or any other food delivery service. And yes, I'm talking about myself. Extended warranty? How can I lose? Homer Simpson. Who wants lottery tickets? Homer Simpson. Excitingly buying the newest iPhone for $2K and complaining at the price of cabbage has gone up $1. Having an entire room dedicated to Lego in which your soul is sucked into and your happiness is raised. My former roommate who bought a second Nintendo Switch after he couldn't pay his share of rent. Again, when they're less than 3 years in the military and they have a $50,000 car with 23 interest rate, the house filled with stuff. I mean, why do you need 50 coffee cups and 15 different water bottles, when you're a part of MLM company and you own your own business? Bonus points for using guilt. Most of the time young men having expensive newer muscle cars, especially around military bases. 52 and your brother still has to help you pay for things. Also add the fact you have 2 kids, smiley face. At this point, owning a new pickup truck, unless it's something they genuinely need for work,